No worries. So you were just telling us before the last one crashed about your experiences with um, dealing with network television and trying to get your products out into the greater world. So my question to you was, knowing that the most of the people we're surrounded by are independent artists, how did you find the experience with dealing with suits and networks?
With dealing with that.
Hmm.
Well, but I mean, it's not over yet. You know, we're just getting into it, really. Um, so far, so good. Because in the little bit of time that it's been being shopped around, I'm not going to name any names or jinx anything, but the people who have been interested and have been actually calling back and wanting to maybe see about giving us a budget to reshoot everything are definitely household names, you know. So we're hoping to hear back before the end of the month. It goes well, we'll be reshooting everything, I believe, because we shot everything out of our own pockets with our own equipment, and just to get the actual idea down pat, you know, for a pilot and whatnot. Did you see any of the show? Forget whether or not I sent you any
No,
episodes.
no, you never sent me the links. But what's fascinating about this, because obviously from this side of the Atlantic, man, all I get to hear a lot about is, particularly America, is the real sort of battle at the moment between free speech, and I hear that's why I brought this question up, because I hear a lot of you know um, sort of like the zeitgeist around America is that networks in particular are all very scared of upsetting people, and are all trying to sort of pander to the right line. And you see this a lot. I mean, perfect example is what they've done to Star Wars, dude. I mean, they've just trashed Star Wars with this whole PC brigade diversity rubbish. So I was wondering, did you find any of that experience, or did you find the people you were talking to were like, no, almost kind of like, no, this is a new world now, and we could be a bit more brave?
Well, honestly, I didn't write anything for the pilot. Anything that I did for the show creatively was character development and set design and locations that we shot. So I scouted some locations that we shot some of the show at, if not most of it actually outside of the farm, because the farm is kind of like home base for this show. The character lives on a farm in Tennessee. But to the contrary, I mean, actually, one of the guys who was was invested in interested in investing in it. I guess there's a character in the show who's actually behind the camera. He's autistic. Character's name is Matt, and he's autistic, Matty. And one of the guys who's interested in investing in the show actually is known for a thing. I forget exactly what it is, but it's for autistic. And I would have thought that he would have been offended by it, but it was the opposite. He actually thought it was really empowering to people who have that problem, and he definitely a more positive light. But it's a comedy show too, you know, and that was kind of shocking to me. If anything, it was the opposite, you know. And there's definitely subject matter in the show that the writers for the show did that is definitely a little edgy, I guess you could say. It talks about some of the things that in this day and age people are getting a little upset about when it comes to things of like same-sex marriage and equal rights and all these types of things. But again, it's a comedy show, you know, so I don't think any real political statements were trying to be made with the show. It's more of just something to watch and be entertained by and have a good laugh. You know what I mean?
Well, that's exactly the point I'm trying to get to, my man, because that's I'm old enough now to sort of realise that this is all I've seen all this stuff before, man. That's the point I was trying to allude to, because this whole trying to clamp down on what we should say and what we should say, it's just that mentality of like what was back in the 80s with the Christian right, man. You know, you can't listen to this music, you can't watch these films, you can't watch these, you can't look at that, you can't do this, you can't do this, and it's exactly the same stuff rising. And like you said, at the root of it, we should just all be able to say what we like, because it's the old adage. I don't know if it's popular in America, but words, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words never hurt me, and that's what should be at the root of what we do, dude. How, before we go any further, man, introduce Sleepy to us, to the guests and people listening, man.
Yes. You're tuning in tonight with a very special episode of Life is People. You got the Catacombs on here, which is Phantom Enigma, which is myself from Rockaway Beach, Queens. And then you got my brother from another, Mr. Thermal himself, Sleepy,
I'm here.
the Beat
I'm
Man.
here.
Sleepy the producer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my whole take on what you were saying, Tim,
Yo.
you know, I just feel like if
Ah.
anything, if anything nowadays, when it comes to content and things like that, like I'll give you an example. I was watching a movie on Christmas called Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is a cult classic. It's a horror movie about a killer Santa Claus. Now, if you Google it and you look it up, when it came out in theaters, you know, all these people from these churches were outside of the movie theaters protesting it, and it was like a big deal. And when I was growing up in the '90s, it was that was like all the time. A lot of movies, a lot of shows, they were getting protested against. It's 2018 now; you just don't see that anymore. And the difference is this: with the internet, with the platform that the internet has with social media, it just kind of feels like the equivalent to walking around and giving everybody a loudspeaker. You know what I mean? And everybody just kind of shouts their opinion, but people aren't protesting like they used to. Not nowhere near it. I mean, just look at what people say on basic television nowadays. You're allowed to say shit like ass, dick, and pussy, and shit. And you know, when I was a kid growing up, all that stuff was censored. You were not allowed to use that. I mean, the times have changed drastically since then. So you're always going to have people whining and crying about things, but you're only hearing about it more now because you're on the internet more, and that's the platform people choose to use now. They don't take their physical body down to the actual place where it's being produced and actually protesting with picket signs anymore. That's really being saved more for things I feel are more important. You know what I mean?
I
When it
do know.
comes to yeah.
I do know
The
you,
only
man.
thing I've heard the only thing I've heard close to that recently would have been there was a big protest for Jeepers Creepers 3 when it came out, and they protested so bad in Hollywood that they canceled the premiere. But I mean, for a good reason. The guy who made that movie is a fucking piece of shit pig. He molested a kid on the set of his movie Funhouse, and people know about that, and they don't think it's cool that you know that movie is being sold in the movie theaters for people to put money in his pocket. It's a piece of shit. So, you know, that's the most recent thing I've heard of people actually picketing, and it worked, you know. But for the most part, for these other things you're talking about, for like, you know, content on shows and shit like that, yeah, people are crying their eyes out on fucking on the internet, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, whatever. But it's not so much in person anymore, unless it's really serious. And you know, that's okay with me.
Well, man, this is definitely one of the reflections that separates your part of the world to my part of the world, because obviously, it's one of the things that always try to sort of reiterate with Americans when I speak to them, that fundamentally to all Americans, free speech is a core at your tenet of what you are as a race of people, as a society. You have freedom of speech at your heart of what you do. In Europe, man, I mean, we've got right now. I'm in Scotland. There's a Scottish guy who's in the High Court of this country because he had a dog, a little pog dog, and he taught to do the Nazi salute to wind his girlfriend up. Someone saw it on YouTube, and he's now in the High Court in hate crime and could be thrown in jail. That's reality in my part of the world, man. So it's always a clear reflection between how you see things, and we see it over here. That's why I was asking the question, because we don't over here. The television that we pump out, it's gone down the hill, man. We used to be when I was a kid, man, we used to be the leaders in comedy and music and everything, and we were the edgy ones. And now all the best comedians are Americans, all the best music is Americans, and it's because you become more edgy and we become more safe.
Interesting. I mean, I've never been to Scotland, so I can't, you know, I can only speak from the experience that you tell us. But yeah, no. I mean, I don't know. Maybe just so much shit going on over here that everybody. I mean, you gotta also remember, like, we just got out of 2017, the year of scandal. You know, half of Hollywood just got basically accused of fucking rape and all types of shit. So, you know, people are focused on other things right now. And then you got the president, you know, having tweeting wars and shit with the fucking the guy over there in Korea. I mean, that's I think for us is like kind of more important. Like, is the you know, are we gonna wind up in a war over shit that our president's saying? That seems to be like the main focus every day. I mean, they have a hard on, you know, to talk about that.
Okay, that's just it's two interesting points that you brought up there, man. And I don't want to get too deep, but you brought them up. Let's just discuss them. I mean, one about the Hollywood one. Now that obviously has ripples across the whole world, and that's been affected over here completely. But I think what's fascinating me about that, and I suppose you would probably may or may not know more about this than me, but isn't there a whole darker scandal that's you know that eventually is going to rise out of all this is not only what's been going on with the abuse of women, but it's the abuse of children. I mean, that whole.
Oh yeah.
I mean, isn't that about to break out, or is that now just been okay? We're going to make it was just a sexist thing, and we're going to cover that child. I mean, do you think that's ever going to come out, or do you think that would be because as the way I look at that, ever comes out, that's going to be the death of Hollywood.
Oh, well, I mean, it's already common knowledge for the people who are awake like me and yourself. But I mean, for it all to come out, the whole fucking pie, I don't know if that'll ever happen because so many people supposedly are involved that are considered, so high ranking, it's hard to say. I mean, look at the whole Pizzagate thing. A lot of people were shocked by it. And a lot of people were like, this is ridiculous. There's no way this is possible. But it's in somewhere in between it lies the truth. And what I tell people who think that shit is so impossible, if you look up the old stories from Tim, I don't know if you've heard, but there's actually a documentary on that as well. It's two documentaries. One I can remember the name of. It's called An Open Secret, and that one's about pedophilia in Hollywood, and all that shit is true. And the guys who got caught for that literally got a slap on the wrist to work on children's programming, which is sickening. Mm. So, I mean, and you're looking at it from all different walks of life. I mean, the most recent one, I think, was a guy from Nickelodeon who did a bunch of shows. He did like the Amanda Show and a bunch of other ones. And just waiting to see if that one even comes to the surface because it's being spoken about online, but that's all I've heard about. I think the guy's name was Dan Schneider.
Well, it's fascinating on that one because, I mean, I don't know if you're aware of it over your part of the world, but there was a big scandal 2 years ago about a same sort of thing, a guy who was very much known when he was alive, being very charitable, very kind of, out to the kids in hospital, was always, Mr. Charity, and when he died, they found out he was a complete, paedophile. That was Jimmy Savile, and he had worked in the BBC, and at the time, at the time, the thing, man, the strange thing was at the time of his death, there was funerals going on, and I mean, and people were like, it was like the death of a saint sort of thing. And then weeks afterwards, it came out about what was going on. But the same sort of thing, the same common pattern. It was an open secret. Everybody kind of knew about this guy and was sort of saying it. Everyone was sort of saying about what was going on and what places he was doing. But it was this open secret that happened. But the point I'm really trying to allude to, which is kind of bring it back to the American one, was this all did happen, and they found out that the BBC was all involved in it, and all this sort of stuff. But now, 2 years on, nobody talks about it, and we had the same with all the child abuse scandals that went on in children's homes, and it was we hear about it and it still goes on, but it's all kind of brushed under the news, as you said, to sort of put up on the world of like, oh, we're going to go to war with Russia, and it's all kind of the war one. But like you said, that dark paedophilia stuff seems to get away with. They seem to get away with it, man, and I'm fascinated. That's why I was relating this to Hollywood, because you've seen how much just the Harvey Weinstein one, the ripple that had. I mean, surely that if one of the children one's going to come through, man, surely it would have some sort of effect, because I mean, I don't know, man, but you'd hope so. In America, of all places, it would do. But maybe it's going to be the same experience as we have had over here in the UK. It just gets swept under the carpet, which is a deeper question about why is it in our cultures that we're so willing from the people at the top to sweep child paedophilia under the carpet when we're going to be upset about all the other things in the world, but apart from what goes on with children. This is a very deep question, but
because people for the most part don't believe it. And it is pretty unbelievable when you start looking at the claims, but when you start really doing your research and your homework on it, you see the people who have dedicated their lives, who supposedly were victims of it, speaking out about it. I mean, it's either one of two things: either it really happened, or this person's out of their mind. And a lot of people choose to believe that these people are crazy. And you know how that goes. Once you can label something or someone crazy, then it's dismissed. It's easily dismissive at that point. So if you could chalk it up to conspiracy theories, then that's it. And then we had we had the whole thing. I mean, I will say one thing. I mean, in America, it hasn't been spoken about much, but for the people who've been paying attention, there's been big busts in child trafficking and human trafficking in general in the country. And I know a lot of people are not happy with the president, but that is one thing that I will say I will back 100%. He put a focus on that. And I believe that was actually his daughter. His daughter's very outspoken about that. Yeah, they continue to do that, and they've been rescuing a lot of people. You can look up. I don't know what the number is, but I believe it was in the hundreds, and I think now I believe it's up to over 1,000, if I'm not mistaken. But I think they also threw numbers in there from one big one that they did was in America, Canada, and Mexico. So they had like an actual press conference that nobody's seen. It's on YouTube if you look it up, where they kind of like read you the numbers, and it's pretty scary. You know, another thing we were talking about recently is like when I was a kid growing up, we had missing kids posters everywhere, missing kids on milk cartons. We had America's Most Wanted every week, and we had commercial breaks that would have uh, during a commercial break they'd have a picture of a kid. They'd say the date they were missing and a number to call. They don't do that anymore. It's like unheard of at this point. And it's weird because as TV is advancing and there's more platforms to be doing that with, it doesn't seem to be. I can't remember the last time I seen an ad for a missing kid. You know what I mean?
Well, okay. Well, that begs the question. I mean, you know, is that implying that there's less child, you know, kind of kidnapping going on now because there is more, you know, we're more aware, or is it, as you sort of think, it's just a case of we just want to sweep it under the carpet? I mean, I don't know. I mean,
It's a good question. I highly doubt it's the fact that it's less. If anything, it's probably more. But I don't know. What can you say? You know, it's a crazy world. And not that long ago, I was offered a job doing freight container inspections process. I was given these gadgets that you put on the freight container that you lock. It's a sealed lock. If it's broken when the container shows up somewhere else, then they know that the container was opened and resealed, and that obviously causes a alarm that they know somebody put something in there, whether it's drugs or people or what. So that was interesting during that process. And what I would be paid to do would be, I didn't actually wind up taking this job, but I did the training with a former boss of mine, and he was doing it. And he basically said, you go there, they load the freight containers up in front of you, they stand there with you, they load everything into the freight container. It's your job to pay very close attention to it, to every detail. And then you do a walkthrough at the end and make sure everything on the list that inventory is supposed to be in there is in there, or anything, and then you close it and seal it. They pay you for it. I would imagine that's more for the more legitimate companies that use freights. You know what I mean? There's other companies, other people who I'm sure are bad paperwork, But yeah, people who are doing that type of stuff, I'm sure they have their tricks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, I think the deeper point is like you said before. I mean, I think it's something you just said then. It's like we know all this stuff goes on, but what? And like I think the point you alluded to, man. This is what I'm always fascinated why it's people like us that talk about it. And as you said, it's always shrouded in words like conspiracy and stuff. But this is, something that, why is it that creative people like us talk about this and it's kind of brushed under the carpet in real world? Because as you said, did we, I mean, they want to focus, like you said, they're quite happy to focus people on all the distractions, but people know this stuff goes on. And yet it's down to people like us, the creative people, who have to put this out through songs and art pieces and like that. And I mean, I don't know. I think you alluded to something that was very, very kind of it's kind of an echo that's gone through a lot of history. And when you said that, we almost kind of get into that mindset as people that we just want to turn away and go, well, we're not going to look at that. We're not going to be involved in that. And it's that analogy that evil doesn't just happen by the people who do evil. It happens by the good people turning away. That's why, all the problems in the Second World War happened, because people turned away and let Hitler do what he wanted to do. So it's fascinating, man. We know this. We know it as adults. We're only in our 30s and 40s. We know this stuff. So what is it about that people know this, that they can switch that off? That's, to me, is a very fascinating question. I think we understand because we're creative people, but when we look around and think, what, do they just deliberately just switch off? I mean, what is it about people? How do they? I don't understand the distance that they can have in their minds. That they can see what's going on in the world, but like you said, they just want to switch on and go, oh well. I don't understand that. I'm fascinated to know, because it's something that we creative people, that's what we tackle all the time. I mean, that's what we write about. We don't sit there and say, oh, everything's great and everything's brilliant and thumbs up to the society and well done all the governments. We don't do that. So we can see it. Society around us doesn't want to see it. But I'm fascinated to know what your thoughts on both of you really. Why is it that people, even when they're faced with the truth, don't want to recognize it? What do you think that is inside of us? Is that fear? Is that just want to be on the winning team? What do you think?
In my experience, what it is that, it's very easy, especially in places like, here in New York City where the cost of living is so high and everything's so competitive as far as finding jobs and stepping up in the ladder. People are very focused on their lives, which is not abnormal. You know what I mean? And, when they hear things like this, it sounds crazy, it sounds whatever. Their mind is concentrated on several different things, like that bill they have to pay by tomorrow. And if they don't, they're, going to be out of their apartment, or going to court to see their kids, or, and that's just, there's a million other reasons behind that. So I think a lot of people just, it's not something that interests them. And, obviously if it happened to their own kids, then yeah. And that's where I think some of those people who never would have maybe put any attention to that, if they know a family member or they know somebody who's gone through something like that, it's a little different. But even then, people, they just find that any of that type of stuff very hard to swallow. They're used to getting the information where they get it from. I mean, we all outside of ourselves, you know what I mean, from different places in the world. And to sit and say that maybe what's being broadcasted all over the world is possibly not true for whatever reason, people find it very hard to know. I've come to accept it over the years, because I used to be that person until I had a few close friends kind of beat me over the head with this information until I finally was like, well, wait a minute. You know what I mean? But not everybody's ready to take that step, that journey. They have their own things, their own priorities. And like I said, I'm not mad at them. We all get caught up that way ourselves. I mean, it's partially the reason why a lot of the projects I've been working on recently have been backed up. I have my own things in my life that have stepped to the front plate of being, very important, and, cannot be pushed to the back any longer. You know what I mean? So that,
Yeah, man, and as we've spoken about many times, and I think this is a sort of great segue to introduce Sleepy into this, man. I think there's a very unique thing about being in New York itself, my friend.
Uh,
I think there's a very vibe about the place itself that it's just, I don't know. Every time I talk to anyone from New York, and especially you two, it seems like
the
there's a
common joke,
whole
to get that mixed up.
there seems to be a
you know
whole
what?
kind of
It's a new
go on,
year. You know what?
go on,
It's a
brother.
new
Tell me,
year.
man. Preach on, brother. Tell us,
Yeah,
man.
man. Yeah, man. It's a new year, man. I'm happy to see you, brothers. It's a new year, so we just gotta deal with it. It's another new year. That's it. And we still going. We still alive, man. We all still here.
Exactly, dude.
We right here, right now. How blessing is this that we here right now? You know, and we're here for a long time. Me and Jimmy, we're here again, sir.
We're back again. Wait,
Over
and
there,
what, Tim, we've been me and Sleepy, but right before the holidays,
Tim.
spent a good, I want to say, a good couple of days working on beats. I think we picked a bunch of samples over a few days, and I want to say we got like 20 beats to choose
Nice.
from. The project's going to be half that long.
Yeah.
We got one song recorded,
So
recording another one, I believe, Monday, and actually probably two, because Monday and Tuesday, I think we're going to be linking up and recording here in Brooklyn. Our studio
yeah.
has been being moved around Brooklyn. We were at one in Bushwick in the summer, and then it got moved more towards like Bed-Stuy, I believe, in Brooklyn, and now I think it's over here by Utica Avenue or something like that. But it's all in Brooklyn. It's all within a few miles of each other. And we're working with two engineers. It's going to be Third Eye and this guy Josh Flusher, as he's better known. He does a whole label thing called Smoked Out, and he has artist on there that he's working with. So we're just continuing collaborating with people. There's a lot of collaboration still going on, but definitely looking forward to getting this Catacombs album done.
Yeah.
Another person trying to
And
collaborate coming up soon. One of them is going to be G Ninja. We've been talking and trying to get something going for a while now. Another one is Viros, who I actually literally was just introduced to, but excellent guy, excellent music. And I met him through King Peru. Because me and King Peru, we were in a group together last year, with Woods and some other people, and but now we're doing our own thing right now. Me and Sleepy are focusing on the Catacombs album, but it looks like we'll also be doing a side group venture as well. So hopefully, going to be getting that off the ground in these first few months. Well, basically, every time the winter comes, we really try to barricade ourselves indoors and work on everything so that time, it's freezing and miserable out here during the winter. Right now I think it's like what, 2 degrees outside or something. Feels like -11 something like that. But yeah, we're just hoping to get a lot of in-house work done now, so that we're able to do more shows and appearances in the spring and the summer when the weather's better.
Right, man. Can I hand this over to Sleepy Dude? I'm always fascinated from someone who's not into this process as much. I'm more of very much a solo artist myself. So, what is your, again? And I know I sound really, if it sounds stupid questions, please forgive me. But what is your actual process? So you obviously, like you just said, then Jimmy's just giving us all a great description about what he's going along and doing Catacombs of You. What is your actual, there you are as a human being. What's your process? What do you do in this? What's your element in this process of creating something?
You know what? I can't hear you really that well over here. I heard some of it.
He asked you what's your process when you're working on music, and like when you're working on beats. What's your process?
Right now, since the last time we spoke to you, we're trying to get this Catacombs going. My process is actually, all of us actually personally keeping every personally things in the past and just focusing going on in the front. And
it's definitely a project.
Yeah, and it's very emotional, spiritual, and at the same time real. Spoke to you, get out. A lot of things happen. It's a new year, so it's okay. We're just gonna start it off, and my direction is basically, we're all talented and we're all ahead of our time. We always been ahead of our time, and we're gonna give you something good. It's only one life to live. We're gonna be here. We love music, we love the people and everything, and that's it.
It's all love, basically. And Sleep, you got to hit him with the line that you said on the radio show we were on when we were on the radio in Newark last week. What was it?
And Mr. Tim, perspective is limited by awareness.
You heard that, Tim?
Exactly, man. That is Zen. That's the Zen moment of my day, brother.
But yeah, I'll send you the.
Are you aware? I know you aware about everything. So perspective is limited by awareness. And we're here. You're aware. We all aware. And thank you, my brother.
Yeah.
Thank you, dude. I mean, I think my question to you would be, what would be your message to people over here, brother, man? I mean, there's going to be people listening in Europe, man. What's your message to people over here, brother? This is for you, Sleepy.
I can't hear you. Hold on. I got bad reception. I'm sorry.
Dude, he said, what is your message to the people over in Europe? because you know he's going live right now from Scotland.
Well, my mission is, and my message is, perspection is limited by awareness, and
That's the message.
I love to.
That's the lesson.
There you
There you go.
go.
So we got that. Very much
Yeah.
looking forward to
But
seeing
Tim,
Vision too.
Go ahead, brother. Ask me.
thank you. Uh,
What? I'm
the
not.
connection is not that good. I'm sorry, Tim.
All right,
I'm sorry, Jim.
so it's all good, man. Why don't you try logging off and logging back in and seeing if it's better that way?
Yeah.
Because you were good at the beginning. So just exit out of it and wait like a minute, and then you can enter back in. Just use the same link I sent you. But yeah, Tim. Like I said, looking forward to collaborating with people that I've grown to basically be like family to me over the years, which would be Third Eye, Sleepy, and Op. Mr. Low Vision, and also working with some new people. Like I said, like Viros, like OG Ninja, King Peru. We've been meeting and opening the doors of possibilities to working on different projects, and that's kind of new because I haven't really been working with too many new people, minus Woods, which I only we did our EP shit not last Halloween but the Halloween before. He would probably like one of the newer additions to the lineup of people that I do work with in video and music, but like I said, this guy Viros, very very talented guy, and OG Ninja as well. So looking forward to getting on some stuff with them, and probably a few people that I'm not remembering right now. That's top of my head, just from all the back and forth that we've been doing. But I actually think one of them is going to join on here in a minute. He's just got to download the app. But yeah, we did a radio thing. What was it? What the hell is it? VJX Radio in Newark, New Jersey. We did that a few weeks back. King Peru called me and Sleepy up, asked us if we would come out with him. So we went out with him, raised the ratchet, and yeah, it was just the four of us actually, and we had a great time. Basically played some music on there live, played some of Sleepy's beats, did a little freestyling, did a little talking like how we're doing now, and I believe I'm supposed to be going back again sometime this month or next month with OG Ninja. I'm going to try and bring Viros too, and I'm sure King Peru and Thermal will also be going. But yeah, I'm going to definitely send you a link after this. Are you planning on coming to the States anytime soon, or?
Well, man, do you know, I was ironically, I was just about to throw the same ball over to you, to your part of the world, man, because I think one of my, obviously around this time of year, I've been thinking about, what, the sort of pathways of the year ahead, and I think one of the things that, dude, maybe I was speaking personally, we've all got to step up our game a bit. It's like, right, we really need to start tight connecting and really knitting these families together, and it's all right on us just talking and stuff, but we really need to knit this up. And I would love to come over to America, man. I would love to. I think and I say this in all seriousness, man. I think that depends on what the events of the year are going to be holding over, man, because I don't know if it's going to get to the point where I can get a passport to your part of the world, man. But yeah, but But I was gonna. I mean, I would love to come to America, man. I mean, I really would. And but I was gonna throw this over to you, dude. And I was gonna I was thinking about this just recently, like thinking. We said it before we went live, earlier on, that have you ever contemplated going back to the, which must be your land of your fathers, man, to Ireland? Because that's, I was thinking about this the other day. It's only what, maybe. When you contemplate, like I was thinking about it the other day, I'm in my mid-40s, so it's like double my lifetime, and then you think, okay, a span of a human life is what, maybe 60, 70 years. You've only got to live 3 lifetimes, and then you're going back to people coming on the ships from Ireland, man. So it's very short time removed, especially what Sleepy would just said about how far we are and where we are now. But if you ever sort of contemplated going back to that stuff, man, because I'm sure that you would. Go on.
Yeah, no, of course. I've definitely considered it, and I actually knew somebody from my neighborhood who went out. Who he lives there now. I guess he said he liked it so much. He lives there. He comes to visit, and he does music there. And from what I hear, he does pretty decently. There's a crowd out there for that. It seems like there's a crowd for hip hop just about everywhere, around the world at this point. But yeah, are you kidding me? I actually have yet to leave this country. If I do this thing with Op in the spring and summer, it would be the first time I do, and it would be for a good reason. I would like to definitely, if I leave the country, I would like to go and perform and see what it's like in other places and how people, react to somebody like myself or the people that I know and make music with. Just see how they feel about it. You know.
Yeah. I,
But yeah,
I,
no, Ireland, I'm not opposed to. I mean, my whole thing at this point is that unfortunately, because everything comes down to the almighty dollar,
mhm.
um, I would have to be booked. I would have to be booked there first. I mean, I was approached to perform in other countries before, Canada, Colombia twice, um, actually Canada twice, if I'm not mistaken. But the Canada thing I didn't do because it was just very last minute, and I didn't have my passport ready. The Columbia thing I didn't do because it was when I was really first just getting my feet wet with music, and I just never had a country, and I didn't really wasn't sure of what my safety would be in Colombia, being I'd never been there. I don't know anybody there. I had one person offer, and then I had another person say, if you come out there, I can get you booked for a show and whatever. But uh, again, like if I had somebody contact me and I had everything laid out, full details, flights, whatever, hotel, and I could look it up and whatever, I'd be more open to it now than I was then. You know?
Yeah, and I think this is what I was trying to get to, my friend. I think and I think to be, he hit the nail right on the head. We are in. I know we keep saying, but these are the greatest days we live in. And these barriers are coming down at an alarming rate, man. Do you know everything is even 3 years ago when we first sort of spoke, the gap between us and getting closer to closer where we can meet these people and like you said, that dollar thing is all starting to get, the barriers are starting to slowly crumble and the bridges are being built. But I think it's fascinating. The reason I sort of mentioned this, man, I think you really would go down. I'd love to see you in how you fare in Ireland. I know, like say one of your friends over there, because it's it's the whole culture, as you would know about the Irish, is it's all based around music and even the harp and all the stuff. It's because they value that very that part of the human aspects and us as humans far more than collecting wealth or how many cars you've got. I mean, you see it with Conor McGregor. He's a perfect example. It's just all about living life to the full and being the full expression of you can as a human being, and that comes a lot through music. So I think I'm not surprised in the least that your friend loved it over there because I was speaking to again a couple of Americans who've been over, and they popped into Ireland and Scotland. They were blown away by it. Like, wow, I've never gone into a bar in America and sat down and just got my guitar out, and people have been like sat along and interested in it. Because in America, people just shout over you and talk over you. So there is a whole different cultural sort of thing, and I think it's fascinating because it's what we've started this whole conversation in, man. I mean, America is. I mean, it's hilarious. I mean, with all the tension in America. I mean, you are the land of immigrants. A lot of America was just the early wave of the Scots and the Irish. So it's kind of like
Mhm.
maybe it's just a turn to return, man. Go, like I say, come back to the land where you're going back from and see what just go. I mean, don't know, touch the bit of that stone because I think I think you would find it as much as I found when I went and moved to South America, I found it completely liberating. I think you would find it completely liberating because I think you'd be surrounded by people who would appreciate you for your music and who you are, rather than just being another street another face in New York City.
No,
For want
listen,
of a
like I
better
said,
phrase.
I'm definitely open to it. I would look forward to a trip to. We have a lot of family there. Outside of America, I believe Ireland and Caracas, Venezuela, are the only places that I have blood relatives. So, yeah, of course, I would definitely be interested in going there, and even on top of that, performing as well.
Well, it's fascinating you
You know,
saying Venezuela, my man, because you know, as you may know or may not know, I lived in Venezuela for a few years, so I, I have some it's a beautiful country, man. But and again, it's another one sort of bring it back to what we are saying, man. It's a beautiful country that's being ruined by leaders and dictators and ideology, man. Because it's what's going on in that country right now is an absolute. No, it's a horror, man, and it's a shame. It's a stain on our culture in 2018 on this planet that we've got people going through this, man. And that's what I'm saying. It's all over the world, man. And hopefully, this is the thing, dude. This is what I'm really trying to. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too idealistic on this. I'm too, too on this. But I'm trying to think. Man, I'm fed up of all the talking. It was something we were, alluding to, in a private message on Facebook earlier on, but we're not children, man. We're powerful entities. So what can we do, man? And I'm fed up of, honestly, dude. I'm sick of just hearing people talk about this and talk about that, and I'm like, dude, we're powerful entities. We've got this great mind. We're not the suits. We're not the ones on the rabbit reel. We've been given the honor, for want of a better word, to go out and create and get our inner souls and our voices out to people, and yet. As you said, I'm not, we don't unleash that. We don't allow that potential to go out, and we just talk about it. So I'm really trying to, in myself, wrestle down to what can we really do. So I don't get to another 10 years of our lives and think, oh, okay, we're just sitting in the same old world. I don't want to be sat in the same old world, man. I want to live in a world where we can, like I said, we can fly across to America, fly across to Ireland, and we don't have to sit there and live in this what we do, where we have to struggle and have all this stuff, man. But so my question to you, man, I've been quite deep and profound with you, man. But what can we actually do other than just talking, which we all do? We all can, like you said earlier on, we all know about the what's really going on. I mean, maybe for want of a better word, woke about this or understand, but it doesn't really matter. It's not going to affect anything. What we know is it's how can we transform what we know into actual manifesting our intent in a positive way rather than just spending another year just talking away and watching people we know, just fall into the shadows and not want to create anymore and just disappear, man. It's been one of my, as much as it's been so many great things of like 2017, one of the enduring memory thought process that's gone through it is about the creative people I've known all around the world who have just said, no, that's it, I'm done. I'm walking away from it. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not painting anymore. I'm not doing any music anymore. And they've just given it up. And that is such a shame, man. I don't want to be living in that world anymore where some of the people I look up to and respect the most are just walking away from it all and just giving it up, man. And I think, what can we do? Because, as I said before, man, we've got far more power in our hands than Donald Trump has and all these people, man. We've got far more because the narrative of our culture is always set by the creative people. That's why that's why all. So with all this power and all these we have in our hands, what can we actually do rather than just sitting around and talking, man? I'm sorry, man. That's a long-winded question, but please, man,
I
I'd
get
love
what you're
to.
saying. Well, I'll touch on one point of what you were saying, and as far as like, it was so funny that you said that. What you said you had people that you worked with and looked up to who were artists and painters and musicians and whatever who basically like, I quit, I give up, I'm not doing this anymore. And I've seen that more than a few times in my life, and I think everybody at one point or another gets to that. And what it is basically is bound up frustrations, whether or not the person who's doing it had high expectations of where it would take them or what they would get out of it, or if they're just having a hard time in their personal life, and that's making them decide that, okay, well, I don't have time for this because I got to deal with all this negative shit. And I've been there too, but I always learned that why you started to create in the first place, why you started to draw the painting you did, or to write the song you did, or to make the beat, or to play the guitar. What made you come to do that is a place of happiness. It's a place of positivity, even if it's a sad song or a song about something negative. It's just the fact that you felt the urge and the push and drive to make it, you know what I mean, and create it. At one point or another, it made you happy. And maybe some people over time, they don't get the same thrill out of it, or it doesn't make them happy, or their expectations have changed, or they themselves have changed a little bit. But I think for the most part, it comes from a place of frustration, or it comes from a place of depression. So I think I've seen it in people who are just down and out in life, and they let the shade that's going on in their personal life basically cover everything. You know what I mean? Kind of like a total eclipse or something. You know what I mean? Like they let that problem get in the way of all the sunlight, and they let it just stay that way instead of just saying, "Well, I'm dealing with this shit, and it's hard, and it's really fucking me up, but I'm always gonna have time to be happy. I'm always gonna make time to put all that on the side for a second and do something that makes me happy, and that would be your craft. Anybody who gives that up, there's a reason behind it. It ain't just give it up because it was so great and they were having such a good time that now they hate it and they want to stop doing it. You know what I mean? Either somebody came by and said, "Hey, your painting sucks," or "Your music sucks," and that made them upset, made them think, why am I even doing this for? Fuck this, whatever. But that's always the wrong answer. When you make, and some people might say, "Oh, well, that's selfish," but for myself, I make music for myself. You know what I mean? I do it because I like to do it. Somebody likes it, cool, man. That's awesome. It's a good feeling to know that somebody appreciates what you do. But if nobody liked it, I still wouldn't give a shit. I've made countless projects that people have never heard, and they're only beginning to get released now. You know what I mean? Like I just got certified as an artist on Spotify recently, but I've had music online in different places, like all unofficial places, like of course YouTube and SoundCloud, Bandcamp, all that crap, but nothing on Apple or iTunes or any of those major online branches. And now that because of the whole, I guess the guys behind the Rebel Alliance album, like Ryan and Bob and whatever, they put it on digital media. Because of that, I have an artist name now in these search engines, and I'm easily able to contact them and say, "I am Phantom Enigma. I was on these tracks." They say, "Okay," and now I have an outlet now, and I'm looking forward to it. It'll be interesting. Um, but yeah, it just in general though, I do feel that people they let certain things deter them all the way. Instead of just being like, you know what? And I think we got Veros here on the line.
What up, brothers? What's going on?
What's good, Veros? Veros, this is Tim from Scotland.
Hey, what's going on, Tim?
Hey,
My
Veros,
name's
brother.
Cyrus.
How you doing, brother?
Good, man. How's
So-
everything out there? Cold.
We was Jimmy was just in the middle of a stream of consciousness. It's a very deep thought process. I don't want to break it. Go on, Jimmy.
Oh, yeah, go right ahead. My fault, man.
All good, man. I'm happy to see you jumped in. But yeah, no. Basically, Tim asked me. Well, it was a longer question. I think it had a few parts to it. So Tim, you might have to remind me on the other parts. But the one that I really picked up on was when you know somebody who's an artist or whatever they're engaged in that they're passionate about, and they give up and they say, well, I give up. I'm not doing this no more. I'm not going to paint anymore. I'm not going to make music anymore. I'm not going to make film. Whatever their thing is, they give it up. And he asked, what's the reasoning behind that? And I just said, I believe that it comes from only one of a few places. And the first one I would say would be frustration, a place of frustration. Maybe the person felt like what they were working on didn't take them where they wanted to go, or they had high expectations, whatever it may be. And I think the second one would definitely be just the hardships of life. If the person maybe just had a recent death in the family, or is dealing with debt, or dealing with court, or shit with their spouse, whatever. Those things as well. I've seen it, and time and time again with people. It's hard to focus, and I've been there before too. I've had people contact me to do shows and work on some stuff, and it was rare, but it's happened a few times in the last 10 years where I had to say, "Hey, listen, I'm sorry, and this is not against you, but I have some stuff going on right now. I can't really concentrate on this. I can't concentrate on doing a performance in 2 weeks." And people get upset about that, but you have to be honest with yourself. But I don't feel like that was the case for a lot of people who do just give up. I think they just get deterred, or they feel like if somebody maybe gave them a bad opinion or negative feedback, and they just said, "Well, fuck it, why am I even doing this?" And I just feel that if you ever got shit going on in your life that's really fucking stressing you out, don't let it stress you out to the point where you throw away the things that make you happy or once made you happy. You know what I mean? No matter what it is. I feel like until my dying day, I'll make music and I'll work on film, whatever, because I get it. I appreciate it. I get a kick out of it. I like to do it. I like to have that creative outlet. It makes me happy, makes me feel good. And maybe for some people those feelings are lost on them because they can't get their minds over the shit they're dealing with. But that's just a few examples I've come across. Like I said, I mean, I know this was a multiple part question, so.
No, dude, Dude, I think that's fascinating you just speak on that before we just do leave that, dude, because I think the one that, and I wanted to highlight the bit that you just spoke upon then when you said about it's the time element. And in this culture we live in, particularly your part of the world and my part of the world, where everything is expectation to happen instantly. It's instant culture, instant success, instant this, instant that. You've got to have everything before your 20s and then before you're 30. And it's all been kind of laid out for us in our path and our, how we expect and fed in our cultures. But you're absolutely right, because the time one is the key one that many creative people, that's the one I find that really stumbles them up. They expect that instant success. And when you really do know this, and this is why I think it relates to the first part of the question I was sort of saying to you, is that to me, this is why I think people want to look to both of you on the screen right now. You're great inspirations, and you're inspiring people, because it's the way I look at it, like myself. All us people were knowing what we're doing, knowing that we're not going to get instant gratification, knowing that we are literally like putting things into a long-term, game plan, like you were alluding upon, Jimmy, about how you for a number of years now, dude, and slowly built up this profile to get to where you are and get this ball rolling. Knowing all that, that's what I was trying to allude to. We're immensely strong characters, us creative people, and I think we forget that ourselves, and we put ourselves down, like you were saying. We get into depressions and ruts, but when we actually step back and look at ourselves and think, man, if we were entrepreneurs, which I think we are, what we do is immensely strong. We fight the odds. We look into long-term visions ahead, and we plan ahead. These are all things that the greatest entrepreneurs that we're supposed to be looked up to in this society, or not, as the case may be, but this is the traits they have. And as I say, we have the same traits as maybe Elon Musk, but we're all sat around in our little houses, as you said, Jimmy, wondering about how we can find the next bill. And you think, we've got the same potential, we've got the same strength, if not more than these people. We know more than what I would argue. I think the creative people know far more than people like Elon Musk, because Elon Musk hasn't got the mind to have the creative experience, the experiences what we had to. That rise up in our creation. So I think we have a lot more in our, as I said to you, Jimmy, a lot more on our plate as weapons, as strength that we can do. And yet, as I say, why we're all just sitting around, all we're doing is making little albums and doing this stuff. What can we do, man? We've got so much power. What can we do instead of just sitting around going, oh, well, that's what I kind of think. I mean, that's going to be the real game changer. When that's not, for want of a better word, and I know it's something that's very cultural, but man, we all talk about the Matrix. But dude, how many of us we talk about the Matrix, and then we will step out of it, we're all woke. But how many of us are actually living that life? How many of us are actually putting that power into the world and going, dude? The very first conversation we ever had when we had on Life is People, and we talked about how a few guys in New York City, which has always inspired me, sat around in a few, little, state, places in New York, and from that rap was born, and then rap just, changed the world. And then there was white kids in suburban London listen to it, in north of England, and listen to it in Sweden and Africa and all over the world. And that started from this. And you think that happened in my lifetime? And where's that happening now? And I look over to New York and think it's such a power base, and I don't see anything coming out of New York that's going, wow, this shaped the foundations of this world to its core. And I look at people like you, and I know you've got all the talent, and I think, what can we do, man? We can't spend, and maybe I'm being really kind of prerogative on this, but I think we can't just spend our lives blaming everybody else and saying, oh, it's the system's fault, it's the government's fault, it's the corporation's fault. Maybe at some point we've got to look and go, what are we doing? And how can we step up our game? I'd love to hear both your thoughts on that, man.
Virus, you want to take that one?
I mean, there was a time, like once upon a time, like I stopped like rapping for like a good year, 2 years, but then I got back at it again. But it's just the fact that I had like school going on. Well, that was before, but now it's different because now I got kids, and this it's times that I be writing my songs and this and that, but this is just like I'm not really 100% focused on that because I'm trying to like work, pay some bills, and then make sure my kids is good and this and that. But deep inside my heart, I still am attached to music or what I like doing, because it's something I love doing. I never expect to get nothing out of the art that I love doing. You know what I'm saying? Because I always go for mines, in another way. Like I look for it elsewhere. Like I don't expect to like I don't make that as my A plan. Like, oh, I'm gonna make it big. I'm gonna do this and that. Like I always gotta have a plan B. So I can fall back on something. You know, and me coming from like a Mexican background, being born and raised in Brooklyn, and it's just like but it's still there. I feel like it's still there. It's just that I tell myself it's just a matter of how bad do I want it. You know what I'm saying? It's like how bad I want to do how bad I want to do this music thing, because like right now I've been writing a lot. Like I've been writing. It's just that I haven't got the chance to hit a studio, record, because I'm busy like trying to do other things at the same time. And once you got like kids of your own, it's a different thing. But I'm not gonna use that as an excuse, because like I said, it's a matter of how bad do you want it. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, man, it's kind of hard, especially in New York, because New York, everything is crazy out here. And I'm not saying just New York, everywhere, no. But everything going high, rent going high and shit, like salaries going up, and then that means rent is gonna go up too. And it's just a lot of things on top of that you can't really focus on one thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a lot of things. Like we're thinking of doing so many things, especially being out here, and it just kind of stops you from what you really trying to do. You know what I'm saying? Because you got a lot of things stacked up in your head, and it's just like but it's always like meeting Phantom, a couple of people, like it's just like makes me feel like we're not alone in this in this hip hop world, or whatever you want to practice. You know what I'm saying? It's like Bruce Lee. It's like Bruce Lee once said. He said that I'm not afraid of a man that practice different skills. I'm more afraid of a man that only practice one skill like 1,000 times. You know what I'm saying? Because he's perfecting that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's just, but in a way, just we're busy doing different things that we can't perfect one thing. You know what I'm trying to say? So yeah, that's my intake on that.
No, I mean,
Word. Not to cut off from that subject, but Tim, is the chat closed for other people to join in? Because I sent the link to OG Ninja Mark, and I just tried it on one of my phones, and it says off air when you try to join.
man, send them the second link, not the first one.
Oh, I did, and when I just clicked it on my second cell phone here, and it comes up, and you enter it, and then on the top it says off air. I don't
Give me a
understand.
few brothers. I'm gonna get something to drink.
I don't know. I don't understand that, dude. That's really strange because we were live still. That's fascinating. I don't understand that one.
Yeah, no, I can show you actually right now, because look, I got this other phone here. I can join the call. I hit join, and then this is the screen. I clicked you click the agreement shit, and then yeah, it says I'm in here, but then look at the top, it says off air. Where's this? See?
Well, there you go, man.
Yeah, I had a couple people trying to jump on here. I'm trying to jump on, Sleepy couldn't get back on, and I invited King Peru, and I got
What's up, my brother?
Well, I'll tell you what we could do, Jimmy. Jimmy, I could close this one down and put a new one up, and then we could do it from that one if you want.
all right, yeah, maybe that'll be best, because I definitely want to let the guys jump on. So wait, how exactly are we going to do this then?
I'll close this one down, and I'll send you a new link, and then we can spread that around, and then that should be open for all. Maybe the only thing I can think is that maybe because we're live, I don't know. I've never had this before, but we're finished this, dude. And I want to pick up the conversation. So hold your thoughts on the end of your tongue, man, because what you were just saying there, brother, was very inspiring. But just quickly, I think just to finish this off, because I think we've got to bear in mind this is going to be people going to be listening to this. My reply back to you would be, and I think it's something I was trying to say to Costa Jimmy. That's up to us. The only way we're going to get, like you said, and I think you're absolutely right when you said about it's good to know that we've all got connections across the world, man. This is what I say to people over here. People over here love to know that there's people in New York who are listening to their rap they're doing in England or in Scotland or in Norway. And we're at this early stages where we're starting to connect. But the thing is we've got to make these connections real, and that's what I'm trying to say. And I think these are we're the starting point of, and it is good, man. Like you said, and to go back to the Bruce Lee one, man. There's always a Bruce Lee one. The quote that I love to sort of throw back, and it's I think what I'm with this, it's like, "Be water, my friend."
Yeah,
I think
you already.
that's the true creative one. Right, I'm going to finish this off, Jimmy. I'll send you the link, and we'll pick this up in a few minutes' time, man. But from
Sounds good, Vera. You down to jump back on?
cool.
Yeah, man.